Okay, once again, hello everyone. My name's Luke, or Łukasz in Polish, and I'm Eremite Games Community Manager, and I'm here with Aaron,
Hi.
who's our producer. He also does models for the game and helps with testing and keeping things together. So we're here today to talk about the upcoming update 1.5, which is coming tomorrow, so that's November 27th. We estimate we'll release it at that's 6 p.m. UTC, I believe. So that's the final deadline for finishing your settlements. We'll talk about it a little more later, but if you've experienced Against the Storm updates before, then you probably know the drill. Okay, so without further ado, let me just quickly go through the agenda here. So first, we're gonna start with the biggest addition, so the new biome that is coming to the DLC, and then to the other content, other features that are going to be included in the base game update. Then we'll, as always, try to dedicate some time to answering your questions. So if you have any questions regarding what's happening on the screen, please chat. Please let us know in the chat. We'll try to answer them right away, and we'll leave some for later. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to the game. We'll start.
So for now, we're just on the world map while we're talking. So as Luke said, this update is twofold. It's one part dedicated to the entire game for everyone who doesn't own the DLC or owns the DLC regardless. And there are some changes for everyone. And there is a part of the update which is dedicated to the DLC. Now, before we move on to the new addition, the new biome, as Luke said, just a quick word about why this update is here and how it's structured. So when we released the DLC, it turned out to be, it was a real joy to see how you interact with the coastal growth, and we'll touch on the coastal growth and the balance of it later on, because there are some changes to that. But we also found out that some players thought and felt that the amount of content in the DLC alone, without the 1.4 update, was too low, and we agree with that. We decided to introduce something more to the DLC, to give something, some additional content, something new to discover as well for all those people who have played the Keepers of the Stone DLC. Now, with this update, with 1.5, we're introducing the main feature, the biggest feature here, is the Ashen Thicket biome. So, you've played the Coastal Grove, you know about frogs, and now it's time to learn about the Ashen Thicket. It's a post-industrial, weird little region where it was once a very vibrant and very lush forest, and now, due to high industrial exploitation and mining, it has become somewhat of a wasteland. Now, the main feature of this biome, and there are basically two main characteristics of it. First of all, it has the Cornerstone Forge, which is a new building only available in this one biome, where you can craft your own cornerstones. But to do so, you will need a special resource, which is called the Thunderblight Shard. And you acquire this through mining. And this ties into the second characteristic of this new biome, which is basically, it's a biome mostly about mining. It's the only one in the game which contains all three nodes. Which we'll touch upon later, because we have also a new mining node, but coal, copper, and salt. So let's start our game here. Let's just jump into it. For those who are new to the stream, we don't really play like an entire game here. We just show you what's new, what's happening here.
Yeah, so we're playing on a version with some developer cheat codes.
Yeah, as well. So as you can see, this is the Ashen Thicket.
And yeah. Just to clarify, as it was mentioned in chat, it's not every 40, but it's like 40, 80, and then 120.
Oh yeah. This description changes in this place here, but once you acquire a certain threshold. So here's the Cornerstone Forge, and here's the Cornerstone Forge UI. Now, how does crafting cornerstones work? You have this cool little fella here who talks to you, down to you. And so we get 3 attempts at forging a cornerstone. We basically can forge 3 cornerstones per game. To forge a cornerstone, you need, as the description said, a Thunderblight shard. So we gain the first one for 40 vein charges mined. The second one you get for 80, and the last one you get for 120. So let's simulate. Let's simulate. Let's pretend we have a Thunderblight shard, and yeah, I have 777 of them.
You can only get 3.
You can only get 3 in this biome. So this is the Cornerstone Forge UI. This guy has some fun little dialogue here. And now, forging a cornerstone is basically combining a condition, an effect, and an optional penalty if you want. So this is structured like many cornerstones in the game, where you get, for example, something for producing, let's say, for example, barrels for producing planks. But there are many different versions of this here. But with each choice you get 4. So this time we have 4 different conditions here, every 4 completed trade routes, every 50 flour or dye produced, every 30 bait used in fishing huts, or every 20 building materials produced. Now these conditions have different star ratings, just as recipes have. And those star ratings are random, so you can get a 2-star rating, 1-star rating, or you can increase it to a 3-star rating using this optional penalty. Now, this is the conditions. Now let's move on to the effects. For example, here we have +4 charges to newly discovered gathering nodes, gain 5 tools, gain 15 random complex food items, and gain 15 grain. So let's say I want grain, and I want to get grain every time I produce flour, and I want to increase. So this penalty only increases one of the effects or the condition based on which one is connected to it. So it's random, of course.
You cannot change the line. You need to deal with it.
So let's say I don't really feel like trading in this game, so I'm gonna travel cost of trade routes is increased by 1, and this will change this effect from 15 to 25 because it moved it up from 1 star to 2 stars. Now this is my effect. Let's say I want now go to the fun part, which is changing the icon. For example, well, let's use something like that, and naming it. I can put in my own name. I can get some random names, but let's say it's Luke's Wrath. It's the special new cornerstone which gives you grain for flour produced, and it will use 1 Thunderblight shard, and we forge. Then we get, of course, to acquiring the second Thunderblight shard by mining further, and the third one, and with each one we get another chance at crafting a cornerstone. Now those effects, there are many of them, so with every playthrough you're gonna just get 1 or 4 out of bigger pool. They are structured in a way that you get the ones that were more useful in the beginning at the beginning, the ones that are more useful at the late game later on. But as always, this balance is of course subject to change. We're very interested to see how you play with that biome, how you interact with it, and based on your feedback we'll probably adjust it in the future.
That it's good that you mentioned. There was already a question.
Yeah.
Is what we're seeing on the stream representative of what's going to be available tomorrow? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
What you can see is going to be released tomorrow. So if you already feel like something's too strong or too small, then yeah, please let us know tomorrow when you get to play the biome. One cool thing, you've already started moving your cursor over. Yeah, exactly. This is something we wanted to add to the game for a very long time, and that's buildings which have some free space where you can place some decoration or stuff like that. This is the first one. Maybe there will be more.
Yeah, Telhurin is bothering me about this a lot, that he would like to see more irregular buildings in the game, and we are trying to find space for that. So this is the first building that is a bit shaped differently, and you can slot in anything here that is 2x2. You can put in some, for example, crude workstation here, or just some decorations. Why not? Now, going back to this biome and to crafting cornerstones, I won't show you too much of this. It would be probably more interesting for you to explore it yourself and look at those effects and conditions on your own.
I don't know if we mentioned one thing, like what's permanent and what's one-time condition. Like, for example, penalties are one time.
Yeah.
It's not like every time you trigger the condition, the penalty will have effect. Only the penalty is only applied once.
Yeah, this is stated in the tooltip of this new experimental cornerstone, which is basically one-time penalty here. The conditions are stacked, so for example, in this case, every 50 will just give me an effect. And there are some conditions which are retroactive, so for example, in this case, where do we have it? For example, this one needs to be retroactive, basically. It's 5 fox villagers in the settlement, so every 5 that are present in your settlement. And some effects even state that they are retroactive if they're not, like, if their retroactivity, is that the word? Isn't
It is now.
isn't as obvious as in some cases. Now, going back to this biome, there's also some other effects here. This biome, besides like the Cornerstone Forge, I told you that it is heavily mining focused. Now we can also use another weird little developer command, which is cheating, and we can go into and look at some of the glades here. Maybe we'll find
Maybe
something.
that's the new drill.
Maybe that is the new drill, yeah. It isn't. Never mind. So this biome has all 3 types of resources you can mine in the mine. So you also changed the description of the mine so to say that. So it's coal, copper ore, and salt. So this is a biome heavily reliant on mining, and also it has an additional effect, which is the yeah, you have to change the avatars, which is basically for every 80 coal, copper, or salt you use in recipes, you gain a automated rain punk cart, which will transport goods in your settlement. So this entire biome will be focused more or less on mining. As I said, the balance here is something we would like to test out further, but with a lot of more players, so on the main branch of the game, and see how you like it. And yeah, just let us know once you get to play it, and we'll adjust from there. Now this is the entirety of the biome. We're not gonna spoil too much here. We can move on to some other things.
There are some very nice opinions about the trees in the chat, so thank you very much. Maybe you can show what resources you can get from trees.
Oh yeah, so we can go on to a bit of lore here, a bit of so the trees give you resin, berries, and sea marrow. That's because when we designed this biome, we thought about, okay, berries don't really occur in any other resource node than on the plantation and in resource nodes specific to berries. But there's node 3 that drops berries, so that was the first candidate. Resin is only available, I think, in the Royal Woodlands, and it's used in some recipes, so we thought that maybe this is a good chance to also give resin here to make this one resource a bit stronger. And of course sea marrow, because this biome doesn't have stone, doesn't have sea marrow naturally, so you need to, for example, if you want to open chests, you need to get sea marrow from trees, you need to get sea marrows from mining veins such as salt, to use it that way, for example, or just to be more efficient fuel wise here. The other thing is that those trees you see here, this ties into the lore. So this was once land of giant like spruce trees, which is now, all that's left of them is basically this stump, and smaller ones grow here. The Thunderblight shards themselves are somewhat of a resource, a crystallized sap of those trees, which is infected by blight underground, so on. So there's a long process we don't really explain in the game about how they are created, and they are the main source of cornerstones of magical artifacts in this world. So Yeah, this is just some additional lore we wanted to get in here. You can read more about it in the descriptions, as always, in the biomes, in the biome effects descriptions, or in basically the biome description on the world map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly, there's a question about how holding cards work. So, whenever you get holding card due to using ore in production, a holding card is assigned to a warehouse. One holding card is assigned to a warehouse. First, it's going to be assigned to your main warehouse, and then to another warehouse that doesn't have its that has the least the fewer holding cards. If you delete a small warehouse, you also lose the holding cards that were assigned to this warehouse. So be wary of it.
Yeah, it's better to move them if you can, but I don't think you can even with the levitating monument. So be careful with deleting those warehouses. Okay, so that is it for this biome. Let's now move on to some other things. I'm just looking at my list here. Let's stay on the topic of the specific deals.
Just one final question regarding
Yeah.
cards. So what happens? What if you get more cards than you have space for? I don't think there's space
Oh,
for
no,
cards. They
there's-
are unlimited. They don't occupy worker slots. So
Yeah.
they are just outside of the worker slots.
They will stack around the warehouses. Most of the time you won't really see them stack because they move around, but there isn't an exact limit to them. So they will just run around your settlement all the time, and there isn't like an upper limit to that. Maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe if you manage to like amass 100 hauling cars, the game will break. It would be fun to know.
Only Michał knows.
Yeah, only Michał knows. Yeah. So the other things coming to the DLC specifically are some new deeds, because we have a new biome. So
Boy, you have a lot of deeds to
Yeah.
collect.
but these ones are collected and done. So because we have a new biome, so every biome in the game has some deeds tied to it. So this time it's the same, and you can see you have minus paradise, which is finishing a game on this biome on Viceroy difficulty. You have the Ashen Thicket, which is basically winning a game here, and the Emberite, which is a title given to this guy here. So you can also be an Emberite by finishing this deed, and that is basically to create 20 experimental cornerstones in the Ashen Thicket. Those two, the two last ones are also platform achievements on Steam, on GOG, on Epic, on Game Pass. So you can get some 2 additional achievements as well.
And this is a decoration that is 1 by 1. It occupies 1 tile.
Yes, we don't have it here.
And there was also a question whether there are new music tracks added to this new biome. The answer is yes, and you've already know that from the chat. Mikołaj Kulpio's composer is there, so you can also bother him about more music.
Yeah.
But there will be 14 new tracks added to Ashen Thicket.
Yeah, these tracks are specific to this biome here.
Yep.
Other than that,
we will also add all those tracks to the supporter pack.
yeah, the supporter pack.
The supporter pack update might come a couple days after the update, but it will be.
And the other thing that we're also adding here, besides the achievements, this biome, there's also some new cornerstones. One of them is only for DLC because it requires frogs. I'm not sure if I can show it to you. You can look at the questions for a bit while I'm...
Sure. So
focused.
one question that was asked at the very beginning, are we still the same size of a team? No. Around 2 years back, we grew by 20%. So we're now 6 people instead of 5.
Is it really 20% of...
Yeah, I mean like 20%.
Oh, yeah, I'm bad at math.
20
Yeah.
20% of
Yeah.
5 is 1, so we're 6. Did I say 50 or... Yeah, I mean, I meant 20.
Yeah. Using Polish here.
Yeah. So we are a 6 people team. That's me, Aaron. You already know Michał, also known as Telhurin, who is the programmer and main designer. Mikołaj, he's in the chat. He's our composer. Damian does all the graphics, so all the textures, all the UI, all the marketing, art, everything. That's Damian, and there's also Natalia, who's doing design work as well, and 3D models.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's also a new cornerstone here. You can see overzealous architects. So you basically gain 1 wildcard pick for every 5 fully upgraded frog houses. And this is the first time we also introduce a new mechanism to cornerstones, which basically does that they'll get removed after a certain amount of charges are used. So in this case, after 4 wildcard picks, this cornerstone will basically disappear. But it's a fun little way of also like telling more about the frogs, of giving you a bit more of their main like gameplay. So building, upgrading, blueprints, architects. This species is known for that. So this ties into that, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, by the way, we're playing with the DLC activated, so you can see frogs here, but a lot of things that we'll cover today are also coming to the base game. So for example, to clarify, the Ashen Biome is added to the Keepers of the Stone DLC, so the one with frogs. As Aaron mentioned at the very beginning, we thought there could be more content added to it, so we're adding new biome, but we're also adding new stuff for the base game. And so even though you see frogs here and there, it's not only DLC related content, but also for the base game.
Yeah. So yeah, this new cornerstone, this new biome, this new decoration, which is tied to the new deeds and achievements, and these are all DLC specific. And now there's also some portion of changes which influence the balance of the DLC. There were 3 main points, I think, we found when reviewing like your feedback and the reviews for the DLC, and this is the Coastal Grove balance, the Feeling Lucky achievement, and the level at which frogs are unlocked. So in all those cases, we did some stuff here in this 1.5 update to make it a bit, just to improve it. First off, let's go into the Coastal Grove and look at what we did with the Stride report. Now, one piece of frequent discussion online was about the price and the requirements of sending out expeditions in the Stride report. And with this update, we decided to lower the overall number of or the amount of resources required to send out expeditions. So the first one, for example, here is 8. Here it's also like 8 raw resources. We also changed the thresholds of when different resources kick in. So basically, previously, after the second expedition, the third one started, which required complex food, for example. Right now, that's not the case anymore. The third one requires you to just deliver raw resources again, but only the fourth one then will start requiring complex food. The same thing is when the requirements change from the complex food to complex food plus service goods. This also kicks in a bit later. So we have one more expedition which requires only complex food, and one less which requires service goods. Also, the overall number of, or the amount of goods required is lowered by around 10 to 15% across the board, and the resources scale differently now. So previously it was the case that, for example, you had 10 here, and the first expedition required 10, the second one required 10, and then the third one required 15, for example, or 20, which was a very steep increase every 2 levels. Now we changed that this increases by a small amount every level. So now it's 10 algae, the next level is going to be 10, now it's 8 algae, the next level is going to be 10, and it's going to be 12, and this is a small incremental increase with every different expedition stand. The same with complex food and with service goods. So they might start at 10, then the next expedition is 12. So basically the scaling here has changed. The next change, of course, here is also with the increasing of goods based on your level. So you can invest more goods for the cost increases, but you have a higher chance of getting better rewards. Now, the amount of goods required, which is increasing per level, is now lower. So now you have, on level 5, you have only 14 algae here required. Previously, that was, I think, 20 or more. So this amount changes, and for every level that's the case. So with all those changes here in the stride report, we hope that the blueprint acquisition in this biome is gonna be a bit easier, more manageable. At the same time, that you will be more inclined to, for example, hunt for rare rewards. And yeah, of course, as with always, we will, as with all changes, we will look at that and see how it feels, how you feel about it, collect your feedback, and maybe change it in the future as well. Again, I know that there are some things we could also, do additionally to the cost changes. For example, the time required could change. And we could also play around with the chances for bigger goods. But I think we'd much rather start with one change, look how it affects the game, and then go from there if there's still a problem with this biome. Oh, and one change to this new biome as well, the trees now drop salt as well. And that's it, I think, for the Coastal Grove. Am I forgetting anything here?
No. I mean, those are the most important parts, I think. We'll share the full changelog tomorrow when the update goes live, so you will be able to go through all the changes that were added. We are also always trying to include some Hefty developer notes so that you can understand why we're making certain decisions, why we're adding new stuff, because we love the game. So this will be available tomorrow.
So this is it for the Coastal Grove. Now let's go on to the two other changes, which is the level at which frogs are unlocked and the Feeling Lucky achievement. So as you can see now, Feeling Lucky now requires just to find the Rainpunk Foundry in this biome. It doesn't require two different blueprints at the same time. Just if you find it, you are lucky and you get this achievement. It's still luck-based to an extent, of course, but also with this, in one hotfix we changed the numbers here. It shows you the exact number right now. It's also based on some odd. Previously, I think there was a bug where you could get blueprints that were not really fit for your game. For example, you didn't have fertile soil, you could get blueprints that required fertile soil. So we hope that with these changes and with this Feeling Lucky achievement now only requiring the Rainpunk Foundry, that it will be easier. Now for those of you who went through hell and unlocked the previous achievement.
Yeah, that was fun. That was crazy.
Sorry that happened.
There were Reddit posts with math formulas with science I didn't know exist.
That was hard. that was really something to watch.
Calculating what's the chance of getting this.
Your achievement is not going away. You still have your Feeling Lucky achievement you fought hard for. It's now called Feeling Extremely Lucky, and it's a hidden deed. So it is in your game. It stays with you. You don't lose it on Steam. You will have to complete this one again if you want, have it ticked in your deeds summary in the Citadel, because that's how basically the game works behind the scenes. But your original Feeling Lucky achievement is still there. It's completed. You have the reward for it, which is a decoration. It's a hidden achievement right now. And it has some funny change to the description, so yeah, feel free to this is now a meme in our community from now on.
Look at the chat. I know how to calculate diminishing percentages after that achievement.
We all learned something. I learned something about not designing shitty achievements because I was the author of that achievement. So I'm truly sorry for that, and I hope you'll like the new one and the new changes here. The last change, which we will talk about, is the level. The last change, DLC related, is the change to the unlock level at which you get frogs. Previously, it was level 13, and understandably, if you're starting the game, if you're just like 10 hours into it, you don't have level 13, you bought the DLC, you feel disappointed that you can't play with frogs. So we lowered this level to 9, which is still mid-game, but it should be more easily to obtain. Now, we toyed around with the idea of giving you access to frogs from the very beginning, from like the moment you buy the DLC, just level 1 you get the frogs. But we decided against that because frogs are a bit different than other species. They are a bit more unique, niche. So we'd much rather you, you learn the game a bit more, you level up, you unlock some buildings before playing with them. Especially since levels are also tied to blueprints. And so if you have some blueprints, but you don't have others, and you have frogs, then maybe there is some sort of disbalance there, where, for example, you can't really make enough of a certain good or food type or something like that. So that's why we still want to keep it locked behind levels. It's now just level 9 instead of level 13. And based on that change, a lot of other changes in the game had to occur, so leveling wise. And this is a change to everyone basically in the game. If you leveled up, nothing changes for you. You have a max level that doesn't change anything. It's just that most species are now unlocked earlier. I think they moved up like 1 level or 2 levels. We will publish the exact table of all level up rewards tomorrow in the changelog. But a lot of things had to change because, as I said, blueprints are tied to species because you have to have access to some sort of goods, some sort of like service goods, service buildings, food, and so on. So that's why it isn't as easy as just changing a number in the code that frogs are now level 9. It also requires some changes to the overall, like everything you unlock up to that point, if you have enough of certain buildings and so on. But overall, this change should allow you to play with frogs sooner. And also, we moved some blueprints which are not related to frogs a bit sooner. So if you're, for example, at level 7, you should start feeling that there are more viable blueprints, maybe for some goods you previously had less access to. We hope that with this change we also like introduce some sort of improvement there to the overall like leveling experience. Okay. Oh, I clicked something by mistake. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So now let's move on to changes that are not
that are coming to the base game.
Yeah, to the base game. So the biggest change that's coming to the base game is the new world map modifier. Now, I will have to find it on the world map, or maybe spawn it.
I'm not sure if you can spawn it with this command anymore.
I'll need to remember the name, but I will.
Yeah,
let's look for it. Let's say I play a lot of games. I'm very quick at finishing them. This is not it. This is not it.
By the way, this new world event for Second Town, it comes in 2 versions. They are slightly different, but this also means that it has a higher chance of spawning, which you cannot see on this stream, but it
doesn't have a higher chance of spawning.
It has a higher chance of spawning.
It's not appearing for me.
Yeah. By the way, just be aware that be aware that it might be a little bit harder to find. Like, this is not a content that you will access immediately. You need to find it on the world map. There are 2 versions, so there is a higher chance you can find it. By the way, do people need to start a new cycle to have it generated?
No,
or no?
The world map event will appear. I mean, it won't like appear on your discovered map. It will appear like somewhere in your hidden area, and you will just have to discover it. But with the new biome, if you want to play after the if you want to play on the Ashen Thicket after the update, you will need to finish your current cycle. The game works in a way that we don't like add you new biomes on the fly here, so you will need to either finish your cycle or force finish it here and just re-roll it, and then it will appear on your map. That's just the way the game is structured. Now, okay, I found the Forsaken Town. Now, let's move on to this here. We wanted to play around with a kind of cool, interesting idea where...
Yeah, that was we've been talking about it for
a long time.
while. I
Yeah,
mean, I remember Michał talking about it like a year ago at least.
Yeah, we tried to find a way of introducing this into the game where basically we were wondering how would it feel like if you inherited someone's save? How would it feel like if you started a town which was already started? Some buildings are built, some cornerstones are picked, some orders are finished or failed, some events are underway and somebody screwed them up. So this is one idea we had. This also is some sort of way we try to address a small problem in the game where if you played a lot of it, you've noticed that your build orders, for example, in the beginning are very similar. You play the same, you build a woodcutter's camp, you build one camp, the second camp, you build the same workshop again. So maybe we can introduce something that will change this start of your game and give you, you know, a different start. Maybe something you try around with different builds. Maybe you'll find another way of playing the game and winning it. And the third thing is that we just wanted to let you know what happens if you abandon a settlement. Your poor villagers stay there and someone else needs to clean up your mess. In this case, this is you. You have to clean up someone else's mess. There are two options here for this world event, which is embark immediately to get an easier town to finish, but you get a smaller reward. And you have negotiate the rewards choice, which will, you know, the town will deteriorate further, but you will get a higher reward for completing it. Those rewards, I think, Michał has to correct me if I'm mistaken, are a bit more random than it looks at in the beginning. There are two types of those events, but we also introduced some different varieties of those goods here. So it's also something that might change in the future because, some spoiler alert, probably in the near future we will toy around with some world event balance, maybe introduce some new world events. Who knows? We're still thinking about it. It's a fun little like part of the game we love to look at. So yeah, let's
try the harder one.
Let's try the harder one.
Let's show people what they sign up for if they choose the negotiate option.
Yeah. You get to choose your starting embarkation bonuses and so on here. So it's not that random because, you know, we wanted to at least give you some sense of control here. You've collected, for example, reserve embarkation points. So why shouldn't you be able to use them here? So let's say you use them here. You can also select your difficulty. Let's say prestige 1. And yeah, let's embark. Let's see what the damage is here. Okay, so we have a new effect, which is Forsaken Town. Yeah, you've inherited a settlement you didn't ask for. Now it's your job to roll up your sleeves and clean up somebody else's mess. And yeah, it is a mess, okay? Here we have a lot of forest mysteries firing. Thankfully we start with a paused game. We have an event. We have, an archaeological discovery already discovered, so that's nice. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad. Oh, it looks worse than I thought. Okay, Fishman Cave and Forsaken Crypt. Yeah, that we can work with that. So, you know, this already starts to feeling a bit different because you now don't really think about, okay, I need to build a woodcutter's camp. I need to move my. I don't have I have a woodcutter's camp. I need to build
two.
I have two. Where's the second one?
Oh, yeah,
here.
hidden.
Okay, hidden here. Okay, so you see, this is a good start in a way because we have fertile soil here. We have an archaeological discovery here.
Yeah, you also have a large existing population.
Yeah,
Yet.
there are Still existing, yeah, but that might change in a while. We are also in the middle of the storm. The graphical effect will change to storm once I unpause everything. I also have something to choose here. We have, yeah, some cornerstones. We have some finished orders already. We have some picked ones. So yeah. So first off, let's maybe reduce the hostility a bit. So
a
yeah.
question: do we
Yeah.
inherit any resources?
Yeah. There are some resources already available in this. For example, here you can see there are some. There's some clay. There's some reeds here, so you get some of them once you start the game here.
And what about blueprints? Do you have like some blueprints already?
Yeah, we have some blueprints picked here. You can see we have smelter, we have distillery, we have brickyard. These are all the normal ones. Smokehouse. It even built twice here. One of is a ruin. So this viceroy really loved to build in duplicates, it seems. We have some big camps. No, we don't have any big camps. We have a plantation, which can be useful. For example, here, yeah. And
a very good question.
We have
why
a bathhouse.
Why do we start in year 3? Yeah, that's because you're inheriting someone else's settlement that was abandoned. So you're starting in year 3. And now, it's important to note, because this was asked already in Steam discussions and on Discord, how does the cycle count years in Forsaken Towns? So those 3 years, like let's say you start Forsaken Town in year 3, those 3 years don't count. So if you finish your settlement in year 5, only 2 years will be added. Of course, if you abandon a Forsaken Town in year 3, 3 years are added because this is the minimum number of years that are added.
Yeah. If you finish the game in year 1 or 2, if you abandon it in year 1, it's always 3 years added to your cycle. It's been that way from I think early access.
Oh wait, yeah, I said something wrong. Like if you finish in year 5, you still 3 years need to be added, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But if you finish in year 7, sorry, let me correct that. If you finish in year 7, and you started in year 3, only 4 years are added.
Yeah.
The 3 is always a minimum.
That's true. We can now do a gamer move and abandon an abandoned settlement and move on to other things. But yeah, we will use that. No, we won't use that. We will abandon this abandoned settlement, let's say, and move on to some other stuff that's also coming with this update, because we have
just one more question, because I think it's very very cool.
Let's go.
Are these procedurally generated, or is there a limited number of fully or designed scenarios possible?
This is something, I mean, we could talk about it a lot, but this is a mixture of both, as in many places in the game. So, for example, the starting glade layout is somewhat pre-designed, but it's also not always the same buildings. We use some like sockets, for example, where we put in some buildings. They can be generated based on many different buildings from an entire pool of blueprints. So even if you, for example, get the starting glade and it looks the same way as it looked, for example, a game before, it'll most likely have different buildings in it. And those buildings can also be ruined or not ruined, so that's also something that is determined by chance. And then there is like an entire different type of generation around the starting glade, where you have resources as always, and any biome you get different resources based on the biome and basically your seed. You get different orders here, you get different glades opened, you get different events, so it's all pre-generated, but it's very random. It's how to say it, it's basically a layout.
You're not going to see the exact same Forsaken Town whenever you start this event.
That's true, yeah. I'm just here in the Coastal Grove because this is the next addition we have here with this update, which is salt. Here we have it. So yeah, salt veins. So now the mine can mine for salt, which has a byproduct of sea marrow, It occurs in the sealed forest, in the coral forest, and in the new Ashen Thicket biome. And it can be used in many different recipes as a substitute for different ingredients. So we're not gonna get into deep here, but let's go into.
Yeah, so salt is one of the additions to the base game.
Yeah. So everybody, regardless of DLC ownership or not, will get access to salt. Now, salt is used in, for example, paste, where you can use it instead of dye. So, with the introduction of dye in 1.4, we wanted to, with the introduction of paste in 1.4, we wanted to toy around with different ways of getting food. So we have like baked foods, we have foods that are based on containers plus a certain good. We have foods based, for example, on rainwater plus certain foods. So there's always some different way of acquiring something, some different way of producing something, and that in turn goes into the food and changes a bit of your gameplay when you, for example, try to craft it. So with paste, we decided to, well, let's try with dye. It's non-edible. We wanted to boost this resources like usability, usefulness. But at the same time, I think paste needed something as an alternative. Because most of the things in the game have some alternative resources as well. So in this case, we decided to add salt as an alternative to paste, to the dye in paste. There's also, salt can be used, for example, to produce water skins as an alternative to oil and meat. So that should make another container, which previously wasn't that easy to make maybe, more accessible. And for example, you have the same here with biscuits. Now we can get into discussion about baked goods, because I know there's been some discussions about that online, about biscuit, pie, and so on. In this update, we changed stuff around a bit. We give biscuits the new salt good. And also, you can see you can make biscuits with eggs right now. So that should make biscuits a bit more accessible. But we also didn't really like boost the entire recipe across the board here for this update. We'll still take a look at it in the future. We'll still look at baked goods in future updates. But for now, this is the change here. Also, this introduction of eggs here means that pie loses eggs from its recipe. So now both eggs and pie should be different enough from each other. Biscuits and pie should be different enough from each other, and they both should have around 5 alternatives here in this place. Yeah, and for example, you can also use salt as an alternative to fuel in jerky, which, you know, if you don't want to use fuel for producing food, you can use salt here. And it's also used in crystallized dew and so on and so on. So it has a few different sinks, so to speak. We hope that with this introduction of this resource, you will feel that mining is more worthwhile overall, maybe. And that it's not only used for metal and for fuel, that it also has some different avenues of being used in different production branches. And that some of the recipes I mentioned here that were previously maybe somewhat undercooked, pun not intended, will now be a bit more accessible, for example. Yeah, and while I'm looking at the changelog here on my...
You can start placing some shelters or houses. There's one really nice feature from this update.
I thought about So one of the things we added here in terms of UX, for example, is you can now see in the housing status tooltip which free spaces in shelters or in species-specific houses are available and which are still being built. Yeah. So you have this little hammer icon down there, and it'll change into a normal number once, for example, this shelter is built. This should help you to decide if you have enough space.
You should build more or not.
Yeah. So you see we have fewer homeless now in the settlement, and we can see that 6 places will be built in a while, but they won't be because they don't have wood. But yeah, this is one change. Also makes other than we touched on mining changes and on salt and so on. One mining change we didn't talk about is that the mine has we changed the times here used for production. This time is different because I have some meta like unlocked meta bonuses on the Citadel. But basically, the base time for example, coal mining was previously 40. It's now 35 seconds. And the base time for mining copper ore, I think, was 40, and now it's 30 seconds. So it should also be a bit faster to mine the goods using your mine. Yeah, and there's one new cornerstone available for all players, regardless of DLC as well. Let me use my trusty little dev console here, and it's called First Crimes? Yeah. This is something that's, tied to fishing, basically. In 1.4 we introduced fishing. It's still, it's a different branch of resource acquisition, but we also feel like sometimes it needs a bit more synergies. So here you can see we added one new cornerstone. It's an epic one, and it's available as a yearly cornerstone. For every 100 units of fish and scales used in crafting, you gain +1 bait production when converting a pack of crops into ground bait in the fishing hut. So if you don't know, in the fishing huts work differently than gathering camps, and I will touch on that right away as we speak. But here you can see that you can use packs of crops to produce ground bait. So when so when fishing, you can invest more resources to get more resources. One pack of crops is basically 5 ground bait. With this perk, the more you fish, the more you use fish in different recipes, the more you can generate bait, and the cycle continues. And while we're on the topic of fishing, there's one big UI UX change in this update, which we should talk about. Is that after introducing 1.4 fishing and so on, we saw that there is some confusion about what counts as fishing, what is gathering, what counts as a camp, and the different resource acquisition methods, how do they interact. So with 1.5 we decided to we decided on this previously to completely separate fishing from gathering as 2 distinct modes of collecting resources, but it wasn't really clear in the game. So some effects influenced both fishing huts and camps. Some effects were treating fishers as gatherers, some weren't, and now it should be all unified. So now every single node is called a gathering node. So the pond is called a fishing pond, and fishermen collect resources from fishing ponds. Gatherers are located in gathering camps, which then collect resources from gathering nodes. And all, for example, Master Blueprint, the cornerstone we have, the legendary cornerstone, which unlocks different camp blueprints, is now changed. It now unlocks the blueprints only for forager, for the herbalist, and for the trapper. It no longer works with the fishing hut. Its debuff also doesn't work with the fishing hut anymore. It's completely separate. This description clearly states that you get only the 3 blueprints from it, and also its debuff, it's like the temporary penalty from it is lowered, so you need to collect less resource charges before it disappears. So we've done this across the board for alerts, descriptions, tooltips, and so on, to make it just a bit clearer overall that those 2 resource acquisition methods are something different.
By the way, probably this was a huge change. Like there's a chance something might be left off. So if you spot anything, let us know, and we'll change that. But yeah, Aaron took a lot of time to go through all the text
and there's always a chance that we missed something here, but the gist of it is that we want to keep those 2 methods separate. We want, and in the future it might become more clear when we, for example, add new effects, new perks that are only specific to fishing. Now you can see here the Master Blueprint is changed, and now it unlocks the advanced blueprints for the forager camp, trapper's camp, and herbalist camp and gathering speed is decreased by 50% until you use up at least 250 gathering chars. We'll also take a look at cornerstones in the future and perks and balance stuff around once we get some time to do that. So the balance, as always, is something that we always adjust based on your feedback. Okay, so I think in terms of new additions, that's it. I'm looking at my to my left, and the stream is also my left. No, it's not. To see if there's anything else. There's also 2 new forest mysteries. There's also a new perk related to salt. There's new orders related to salt. So there's overall, as with every new resource in the game, as with every new acquisition, there's basically new content over the board, like across the board for every part of the game. So new orders, new perks, and so on. Yeah, and that's it, I think, for new additions. We talked a bit about the UI and UX changes, so about the housing tooltip, about the text changes.
Yeah, there are a lot of smaller things.
Yeah, there are some smaller things we inspired, of course, by the community. For example, one small cool change is when you go here. Oh, I have this weird little map here. So you can see now this text here, this text box. Previously, it just said type your settlement name, and now it's a random name already selected, and you can randomize the name even further here using this button. So you can maybe look at what names we came up with for the random tasks. What else is there in terms of UI?
Yeah,
UX?
some small things like in the options you can change the fishing mode.
Yeah,
fishing bait mode.
The default bait mode, for example, you can now never use bait, for example, or only use bait, and that will be remembered across your games. So yeah, all those changes, UX changes, will be listed tomorrow in the changelog. It's quite a big changelog, so you can go over them on your own leisure and free time and so on, and read everything you want to know about the update there.
Two cool things I think some people might really appreciate is that are related to ruins on glades.
Yes.
So now the ruins on glades will display the arrow facing forward, so where the front is, and also ruins on glades will, I'm not sure if all the time, but will try to face roads if there are roads near them.
So now you can see the entrance arrow here, which points towards where the front of the ruin is. And the second change, as Luke said, is we have some glades in the game where when you discover the glade, you see a portion of a town there. Maybe there was there's some small portion of road there. Maybe there is some. I can't find
Not
it.
here.
Not here. If it's streaming time, then nothing really. The RNG isn't too kind to us. No, never mind. But there are some glades in the game where you find a portion of a town, and so you find a road, a ruin pointing to the road. Now those ruins will try, at least whenever it's possible, to face the road. So no more weird farm which is faced towards another building and so on. Now this might not always work, and sometimes it's going to be a bug, sometimes it's going to just be something that is by design. Oh
yeah, your settlement.
My settlement. I'm going to abandon it, and it's going to be a forsaken town for someone else now.
Somebody will clean up your mess tomorrow when the update goes live.
Yeah, good luck. But yeah, this should be a nice change for those of you who really wanted to see the ruins faced the correct way.
Yeah, so basically there are a couple new custom icons added to the game, but yeah, like Aaron mentioned, there are a lot of other changes. I don't think we need to go through all of them.
There is two technical changes we can talk about.
Yeah, go on.
Which a lot of people will appreciate. It's the fact that in the 1.4 and even previously, it was if you have, for example, a gatherer here, and you had this path, or no, maybe I show you in a different way. So let's say you have a gatherer here, and you had this a small storage here, and for a small warehouse here, So the gatherer, when he was going to a warehouse, he would pick the one which was closest in a straight line, which would be this one. But let's say that technically it's not the closest, because he would have to go here and here and here. So the closest one is actually this one. And for the longest time that wasn't working. You know, they would go to the one which was closest in the straight line. Now we changed that. Now they use proper pathfinding for that. So from now on, the gatherers and so on will go to
Maybe
the one.
it's not the best example here on
Yeah,
on
it's
the
it's very
map,
close
but,
to each other, but yeah.
Yeah, they
But you get the idea of
they
that.
always picked the one which was closest in the direct line without counting the
Yeah.
trees that were on their way.
And the other change now, which is also like more technical, more tied to AI, is when, for example, you had an event here and you send out 2 scouts to finish it. They had to deliver some goods to finish that. Sometimes it was like this, that the last scout was transporting the last piece of amber, let's say, to this event, but the other scout was like, "Oh, I can't do anything. Another guy is transporting the goods, so I'm gonna go rest at the hearth and wait for them to transport the goods here, and then I'm gonna go and work on this event." From now on, when, for example, a scout is transporting the last piece of amber to this event, the other scouts assigned to this event will be like, "Okay, oh, the event is going to start soon. The work on it is going to start soon. So better move there." So they will straight away move to the event and wait there for the last piece of amber for it.
Yeah,
for
I
example.
really liked how you role played scouts. Yeah, we need to go.
I mean, you know, I love the lore of Against the Storm, so maybe some short stories about scouts. So yeah, there are numerous other changes. For example, some modifiers which change the amount of hostility. For example, here you can see Ancient Battleground. Hostility scales based on difficulty, and for the longest time we didn't really tell you how much it will scale if you, for example, play on Prestige versus on Settler. So now you can see in the tooltip here right away it's going to be 50, 75, 100, and 150 depending on your difficulty level. And that's, you know, one of the UI and UX changes. There's numerous other changes, so everything will be in the changelog tomorrow. I'm not gonna bore you anymore with role-playing scouts and Against the Storm.
Yeah,
So-
let me only mention so that nobody's surprised. There was also a change, another technical change that should improve the performance a bit.
Yeah, there's a few changes, but yeah.
Yeah, what I mean is that we're not going to go into technical details, especially without Michał here. But there is a chance you might see some small changes to the some overlays. Like some things might look a little bit different. That's because we were moving things around the UI layers to improve the performance across the board. That's all the technical thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Overall, the game should run more smoothly now. It should. I hope you will get more FPS in it, and it will run on slower machines as well, a bit better. But due to this change, as Luke said, there might be some things that look a bit different. And this is a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
If something looks good, if not, then we might change that later on. But yeah, our
But
main goal
those
was
those are not like mechanical changes to
No, no, no,
overlays.
no.
They work the same. They might look a bit different. Like they're you know the colors might be a bit different, like slightly different than they were before.
Once you move around, for example, like some UI on different layers, some different effects affect, for example, the colors. So basically, that's what's happening here. So you might see that an icon looks a bit different in terms of color, but that's all that should happen here.
Yeah, they work mechanically the same as before.
So yeah, the main goal here was to improve the stability and the performance of the game. We also changed some stuff with some assets that should make the game run smoother. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. For now, it looks that the change works well.
Yeah, so now is the time to ask questions in the chat. In the meantime, I will talk a little bit more about how to prepare for the update, remind you once again when it goes live. So Update 1.5 will be released tomorrow. That's November 27th. We aim for 6 p.m. UTC. By that time, you should complete your settlements because they are going to be closed. We're very nice guys, so we are giving you some reimbursement for all the closed settlements. So if you don't manage to close your settlement, you will get as many Citadel resources as you'd get for finishing it. You will also get a free royal resupply, and if you don't want this, you can decline it. That was also requested, and so we added an option to decline this bonus if you don't feel you've earned it. But if you don't manage to finish your settlement, yeah, it will be closed. If you are desperate to finish, if you don't manage to finish it, but you're desperate, like you would do anything to finish this settlement because you were in the middle of a very important deed and you will never ever get it again, we will also release separate Steam branch with current version of the update 1.4. So we will before you start playing on update 1.5, you can switch to Steam branch 1.4, finish your settlement there, go back to 1.5 and continue. But please treat it as a last resort option. We can't really recommend it, like because it's easy to break stuff if you switch branches a lot. Update 1.5 branch, so the legacy branch 1.4, sorry, is not how do we call it? Yeah, it's not backward compatible.
Yeah.
So if you start playing on 1.5 and on one point decide, yeah, let's move back to 1.4, don't do it. This might cause some issues. So this option, this update, this legacy branch 1.4 is only for the people who really need to finish their settlements, but they didn't find the time to do it before tomorrow. But yeah, that's an option. And we'll share more details about this legacy branch 1.4 in tomorrow's update notes. But anyway, yeah, please try to finish your settlements. Unfortunately, we need to close them because of the amount of new content that is being added. We just need to close settlements to avoid any potential game-breaking bugs. That's unfortunately common for any run-based games. So if you play other, especially roguelikes. Yeah, so that's it. And now it's time for the questions. And there's one that was asked before as well. So what can we share about the roadmap for Against the Storm? Not much, not as much as we would like to.
Yeah. From the beginning, our philosophy was to share as little as possible and give you the content right away and patches, because we are very afraid of over-promising anything.
But Aaron already promised something today. He promised that we will be looking at world events and that there might be some new world events.
So this is something we are working right now in the background on. So we just wanted to see, this update, it brings some new content here. It brings some big changes. So like in the meantime, you just wanted to look at some stuff that exists in the game. If there are some cool, meaningful choices in world events, if they can be improved. So this might be happening in the next update. We just might decide to, balance things around with the world events. So if you have any feedback in terms of world events, feel free to share it right now as we're working on that. So
this will be update 1.6, and we hope to, release it not that.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. We'll release it as soon as possible.
Yeah, like we're talking about not over-promising, and we're right now promising something.
No, yeah, I mean, I was like 1 second away from telling you when it's gonna drop 1.6, but
but there will not.
I stopped.
Probably there won't be experimental branch for 1.6. It's not going to be that huge to test it with players beforehand.
Yeah. We'll see about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Please take a vacation and enjoy the holidays. We might do that this year. Last year we
Finally.
didn't. Last year we didn't manage.
Yeah.
There was we were facing a significant problem with the game on one of the platforms, but
Yeah.
this year the plan is to have some family time to rest a bit, play some new cool
Yeah.
games. By the way, let us know what were your latest findings in the indie game genre or any other games
Especially
you found.
co-op games for
Yeah,
the
'cause
studio. Yeah.
This is a Q&A section, but I never said you are going to ask us questions. We can ask you questions. Like, what's your favorite new indie game that you discovered?
Yeah.
What is your favorite show you watched recently?
Probably Arcane.
Our yeah, exactly. I was going to say that our team is hyped about Arcane. I haven't watched it yet, so
But
don't
Silo is also great on Apple TV. Yeah.
so don't share spoilers in the chat. Yeah. Question: can you give us the option to assign people to housing? For example, I should be able to kick out harpies and put foxes in a neutral shelter. So
Yeah,
this-
we've thought about it in some previous updates. We experimented around with housing in early access. We wanted to do some, like for example, proximity-based housing when you get housed near a workplace that the people would move there. All our experiments turned out to be blah, not really good. And we are hesitant to give you like direct control over it because the game from the start and from its like very infancy was designed to be very high level. You manage the species, not really the
Yeah.
individual villagers.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed it, but never in the game you directly control specific villagers.
So
There's
we-
you can click on them, you can see their
Yeah,
stats, but
yeah.
it's pointless. Like you're not supposed to micromanage them. So if anything, would probably, I mean, I'm not a designer, fortunately for you. So, but I guess we'd probably try to
find a way to make it like not really
that you
micro-
don't feel like you need to kick them out of the houses.
For now, there are no plans to do that. We might think about it more in the future, but for now, I don't really have like even an idea on how we might do that to be feasible. So yeah, right now no promises again. We might think on that a bit more.
Yeah, I think I had one more question at least.
Yeah, shoot.
Oh yeah, that was also interesting one because we were also talking about it.
Yeah.
There was a comment that one of the players was playing on the coastal grove and only found small glades in the nearest proximity. Like there were
Oh, yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
dangerous or forbidden glades, and is that a bug? That wasn't fun. And like, what's with that?
I would have to look at it more carefully, but you know, it's a weird line between what is a bug, what is by design. I wouldn't want to standardize the game to always be, you know, a small glade has to be closed, and then after two small glades, there's always a big glade, because there is some interesting decisions there. If, for example, you get a random weird map with more small glades than usual. So I wouldn't want to eradicate all those possibilities of weird RNG in the game, because that's also fun, at least to me. I wouldn't want to standardize the game like to be very like cookie cutter, like we always play this way, we always it's something we try not to do. Maybe there is an issue in the coastal grove because the map shape is very different in that biome. We'll also in the future look at the map generation, I'm sure of it. So maybe there is something we can improve there, but I can't really promise that, you know, every map should be of a similar shape, of the same distance to dangerous and forbidden glades. I think it's okay if sometimes the generation is a bit wonky, but maybe the question is it wonky too often on that biome? So that's something we might look at in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all the questions I think I counted and noted down. So, yeah, once again, let me remind you to finish your settlements before tomorrow. The update is going live at 6 p.m. UTC, so in less than 24. Oh yeah, more than 24 hours. A little bit more than 24 hours. Here's a little insider info for all of you watching. Steam Autumn sale starts tomorrow, and you can expect that the game will be on sale as well. So if you're on the fence of buying the DLC or the game, wait until tomorrow and you'll get a better deal.
Oh shit! Someone died.
Our publisher, when he heard we are encouraging people not to buy the game.
Oh shit! Someone died.
So the update is coming tomorrow. It's going to have free content for both the base game and the Keepers of the Stone DLC. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was, as well, always a pleasure to spend this time with you, and we'll hope you have fun with update 1.5 tomorrow. And don't hesitate to share your thoughts with us on Discord, Reddit, Steam, or wherever you feel like sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much. That was super fun. Have a nice evening, have a nice day, and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Thank you.
We're going to raid someone who's playing against the storm probably.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.